What if the trees could whisper secrets? I often found myself drifting into that thought, especially in the dense embrace of the Waipua forest, where the ancient Kori stood as silent sentinels, bearing witness to the world around them. My name is Aria Collins, and I came to this secluded place, nestled on the northland coast of New Zealand, to escape the chaos of modern life, to seek solace off the grid. But as I began to peel back the layers of the forest, I realized that what I sought was far more elusive than I had anticipated. I had always been drawn to nature, its rawness, a stark contrast to the sterile walls of my office in Auckland, where I spent my days shrouded in spreadsheets and fluorescent lights. Life in the city felt like a constant race, one I was determined to leave behind. With my backpack filled with essentials and a heart yearning for a deeper connection, I ventured into the wilderness, believing I could rediscover myself among the towering trees and the whisper of the wind. As I settled into my temporary home, a rustic cabin just off State Highway 12, I felt a sense of liberation I hadn't experienced in years. But freedom came with its own peculiarities. The first night, as I lay in bed, the wind rustled through the canopy, creating a symphony of sounds that seemed both comforting and unsettling. I reminded myself that I was here to embrace the unknown, to strip away the layers of a life I had built in the city. Yet, the forest felt alive, its presence pressing against me like an uninvited guest. It wasn't long before I noticed the oddities. The first sign appeared on the third day of my stay. I was gathering firewood near a clearing when I stumbled upon a circle of stones, perfectly arranged as if they had been placed there with intention. I brushed it off as a simple campsite left behind by fellow travelers, but as I turned to leave, a chill ran down my spine. The air thickened, and I felt an inexplicable urge to linger. The forest was more than just a backdrop. It was a character in its own right, shaping the narrative of my days. The dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves cast shadows that danced at the edge of my vision, and the earthy scent of damp moss enveloped me like a warm blanket. Yet, beneath its beauty, lay an unsettling energy, as if the trees themselves were watching, waiting for something to unfold. My past had not been kind to me. I had always struggled with feelings of inadequacy, a shadow of doubt that loomed over me like an oppressive fog. The memories of my childhood in the suburbs of Hamilton haunted me, endless nights spent alone, a broken home that left scars I thought I had buried. I had hoped that here, in this untouched wilderness, I could find the strength to confront those demons. Yet, as I sat by the fire each night, the crackling flames seemed to echo my fears, illuminating the darkest corners of my mind. It was on the fifth night that the whispers began. I had just settled in with a book, the glow of the lantern flickering as shadows danced around me. The wind had picked up, howling through the trees, but amidst the chaos, I heard something distinct, a voice, soft yet urgent. Aria. It beckoned, weaving through the branches like a ghost. I paused, my heart racing, questioning whether my mind was playing tricks on me. Surely I was alone, but the sound drew me closer to the window, where the night loomed ominously. As I peered out, the moonlight painted the clearing in a silvery hue, revealing the circle of stones I had stumbled upon days earlier. It was as if they beckoned me, a silent invitation into the heart of the forest's mystery. I felt a pull, an inexplicable urge to step outside and explore. The thrill of discovery coursed through my veins, momentarily overshadowing the anxiety that had gripped me since my arrival. But the moment I stepped onto the cool earth, the atmosphere shifted. The forest seemed to hold its breath, and the air grew thick with anticipation. I could hear the rustle of leaves, but now it felt like more than just the wind. It was as if the very essence of the forest was alive, vibrating with energy. I approached the stone circle, and the moment I crossed the threshold, a wave of emotion surged through me, fear, curiosity, and an overwhelming sense of belonging that was both foreign and familiar. Suddenly, an image flashed in my mind, a memory long buried, of a childhood friend named Lila who had vanished one summer evening in Hamilton. I had spent years grappling with guilt, wondering if I could have done something to change her fate. As my fingers brushed against the cool stones, it was as if the forest was unlocking a door I had long kept shut. I felt her presence, an echo of laughter fading into the shadows, and I realized that I was not just here to escape, I was here to confront the past. But as the night deepened, the forest began to reveal its true nature, one that was intertwined with my own. I could sense that whatever mystery lay ahead would challenge me in ways I could not yet comprehend. The forest was not merely a refuge. It was a mirror reflecting the depths of my soul, and the darkness I had come to escape was about to resurface in ways I never imagined. And just then, with a crack like thunder, the earth trembled beneath my feet. The stones shifted, and the whispers grew louder, drowning out the sound of my heartbeat. I stood frozen, caught between the pull of the forest and the weight of my past, knowing that the true journey was only beginning. The tremor beneath my feet sent shockwaves of fear through my body, and I stumbled back from the stone circle, heart racing. The air crackled with energy, and I felt as if the forest itself was alive, breathing with an ancient rhythm that resonated deep within me. It was a stark reminder that I was a mere visitor in this sacred place, not the master of my own destiny. As the echoes of the tremor faded, the whispers morphed into a chorus of voices, overlapping and intertwining, drawing me deeper into the heart of the forest's mystery. I strained to catch the words, but they flitted in and out of comprehension, like leaves dancing on the wind. "Find her! Free her!" they seemed to implore, and my heart clenched at the urgency in their tone. In that moment I realized I was not alone in this journey. The forest was calling to me, but it was also holding secrets, and I had to unravel them if I wanted to confront my own past. Just as I was about to turn back toward the cabin, a figure stepped into the clearing from the shadows, startling me. "Arya?" The voice was familiar, yet foreign, like a distant echo of my own thoughts. I squinted against the moonlight to see a woman standing before me, her silhouette framed by the towering kauri trees. She was tall and lean, with wild hair that cascaded down her back and a fierce intensity in her bright green eyes. "Who are you?" I managed to stammer, instinctively taking a step back. "My name is Tane," she said, her voice steady, yet laced with an urgency I couldn't ignore. "I've been waiting for you." Waiting for me? My skepticism flared, but there was something in her gaze that made me pause. "Why?" "There's a connection between you and this place," she answered, stepping closer, the moonlight illuminating her features. "You're here to uncover the truth about Lila." At the mention of my childhood friend, a rush of memories flooded my mind, each one sharper than the last. Lila's laughter, her wild spirit, the day she disappeared without a trace. I had spent years tormented by guilt and unanswered questions, and now, standing here in the forest, it felt as if the threads of our lives were weaving together once more. "How do you know about Lila?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "What do you want from me?" Tane's expression softened, and I could see the pain etched in her features. "I know what it's like to lose someone," she said quietly, "to feel helpless and alone. I've been drawn to this forest for a reason, just like you. It holds the key to many lost souls." "Lost souls?" I echoed, my heart racing. "What do you mean?" "The forest is a conduit between worlds," she explained, her voice barely above a whisper. "It has the power to reveal truths hidden in the shadows. But it can also be dangerous. You must tread carefully, or it may consume you." The weight of her words settled over me like a thick fog, and I felt the gnawing sense of dread returning. The forest was no longer just a refuge. It was a labyrinth of memories, fears, and unresolved grief that threatened to ensnare me. "What do you want me to do?" I asked, my voice steadying as I fought against the rising tide of panic. We must go to the heart of the forest. There's a place where the veil between worlds is thin. If we can reach it, we might be able to communicate with Lila," Taine said, her eyes shimmering with determination. "But first, we need to gather more information. The stone circle is merely the beginning." I hesitated, the weight of my past pressing down on me like a suffocating shroud. Could I really face the truth about Lila? The idea of confronting those memories both terrified and intrigued me. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Taine asked, her voice cutting through my thoughts. "Once you step into this realm, there's no turning back." I took a deep breath, the cool night air filling my lungs, and nodded. "I'm ready. I have to be." As we made our way deeper into the forest, the air grew thicker, charged with energy. The whispers intensified, swirling around us like a tempest, urging us forward. I felt Taine's presence beside me, a guiding light through the darkness, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. "Tell me more about what you've experienced here," I said, trying to distract myself from the gnawing sense of unease. Taine's expression darkened, and she glanced around as if the trees themselves were listening. "I've encountered things that defy explanation, visions of the past, echoes of those who've come before. This forest holds memories, Arya, and it can show you things you never wanted to see." "Like what?" I pressed, curiosity piquing. "Like the truth of your own fears," she replied, her voice low. "The forest will test you. It will bring your darkest thoughts to the surface. You'll need to confront them if you want to move forward." I swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling like a stone in my stomach. I had spent so long running from my past, and now it seemed I had no choice but to face it head on. As we continued, the shadows grew longer, twisting and contorting in the moonlight, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking just beyond our line of sight. "Can you hear them?" Taine suddenly asked, stopping in her tracks. I strained to listen, and my heart raced as I caught faint whispers again, clearer this time. "Arya, find us, the truth." It was a haunting melody that echoed through the trees, pulling me deeper into the heart of the forest. "What do they want?" I asked, panic creeping into my voice. "They want to be remembered," Taine said softly. "They want their stories to be told. But you must be careful. The forest has its own agenda." Just then, a rustle in the underbrush caught my attention, and I turned, squinting into the darkness. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. Taine nodded, her expression tense. "Stay close. We're not alone." My heart raced as I took a step back, feeling the weight of the forest pressing down on me. The trees loomed like silent giants, and I was acutely aware of the secrets they held. Just as I was about to voice my concern, something darted through the shadows, a flash of fur and a pair of glowing eyes. "What was that?" I gasped, adrenaline coursing through me. "Whatever it is, it's curious," Taine said, her voice steady but her body tense. "We need to keep moving." The shadows danced around us, and I felt the forest closing in, as if the very trees were shifting to guide us or trap us. Each step felt heavier, the whispers growing louder, intertwining with my thoughts. "Find her! Free her!" Taine pressed forward, and I followed, my pulse racing. The path ahead became less defined, and I could feel the weight of ancient eyes upon us. "Arya, listen," Taine said, turning to face me. "This is where it gets serious. We need to keep our wits about us. The forest will test us, our resolve, our memories, our fears. Are you prepared for that?" I nodded, though doubt gnawed at the edges of my resolve. I had come seeking answers, but now, with the weight of the forest's secrets pressing down on me, I felt more lost than ever. "I have to do this," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "For Lila." Taine's gaze softened, and in that moment, I knew we were bound together by our shared pain. The forest may have been our adversary, but together, we would face whatever lay ahead. As we pressed deeper into the heart of the forest, I felt the first tendrils of unease tightening around me, wrapping me in a cocoon of uncertainty. The path grew darker, the trees closing in, and I realized that the true challenge was just beginning. In the depths of the Waipua forest, beneath the ancient kauri, we were about to confront not only the mystery of Leela's disappearance, but also the shadows of our own souls. And as the whispers grew louder, I understood that the forest was not just a backdrop. It was a crucible, a place where the past and present collided, and where I would have to confront everything I had tried to escape. The journey ahead promised to be fraught with danger, but I could feel the spark of determination igniting within me. I would not turn back. I owed it to Lila, to myself, and to the forest that had drawn me into its depths. And so we moved forward, into the unknown, ready to face whatever awaited us. As Tane and I moved deeper into the forest, the atmosphere shifted. The air thickened, heavy with unspoken words and a palpable tension that crackled like static around us. I felt as if the trees were leaning closer, listening, waiting. My pulse quickened with each step, and I found myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see a ghost from my past lurking just beyond the shadows. "Stay focused, Arya," Tane urged, her voice low but firm. "We have to reach the clearing before the moon reaches its zenith. It's the only time the veil is thin enough to allow communication." I nodded but couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, deeper than just the forest's foreboding presence. I had come seeking answers about Lila, but now the very notion of the past felt like a trap, ready to ensnare me in its tangled web once more. The whispers grew louder, swirling around us, their urgency escalating. "Find her! Free her!" They seemed to press against my chest, a rhythmic pounding that matched my heartbeat. I clenched my fists, willing myself to push through the rising tide of fear. I had to know what happened to Lila. Suddenly, the ground beneath us shifted, and I stumbled, flailing for balance. Tane caught my arm, her grip firm. "Are you okay?" I took a breath, the words caught in my throat. "I don't know. It's like the forest is alive, and it's trying to tell me something. Trust your instincts, but don't let fear cloud your judgment," she advised, her green eyes steady on mine. "The forest will reveal what you need to see, but it may not be what you want to hear." We pressed on, the shadows growing thicker, the trees closing in around us like sentinels guarding secrets. As we rounded a bend, I caught sight of a flicker of light in the distance, a soft glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. My heart raced as curiosity pulled me toward it. "Wait," Tane warned, but it was too late. My feet had already carried me. Forward, drawn to the light. The whispers intensified, swirling around us with an almost palpable energy. As I stepped into the clearing, I stopped short, breathless. Before us stood an ancient tree, its trunk wide and gnarled, with roots that twisted like serpents into the earth. At its base, a soft, ethereal light glowed, illuminating the space around it. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. "What is this place?" I breathed, stepping closer. "It's a place of power," Tane replied, her voice barely above. A whisper. A nexus of memories and truths. We can connect with those who have passed through here before. But as I approached the light, I felt a sudden chill wash over me, a creeping sense of dread that tugged at my insides. I glanced back at Tane, and her expression was grave. "Something isn't right," I said, my voice trembling. I feel like we're being watched." Tane's eyes darted around the clearing, and I could see the tension in her posture. "We need to be careful. The forest is not just a witness. It can manipulate what we see. It can twist our memories." Just then, the light at the base of the tree flickered and pulsed, casting strange shadows that danced around us. I felt a rush of emotions, fear, sorrow, guilt, all crashing down on me like waves in a storm. And then, the voices changed. They became clearer, more distinct, echoing through the clearing. "Arya, you have to remember." My breath hitched, as a figure materialized from the light. It was a woman, her features soft and familiar. My heart dropped as recognition washed over me. "Lila?" I gasped, stepping forward. "Is it really you?" The figure nodded, a sad smile adorning her lips. "I've been waiting for you, Arya, but you must listen closely. There's so much you don't understand." I felt a surge of hope, but it was quickly overshadowed by confusion. "What do you mean? Where have you been? Why did you leave me?" The questions poured out, each one heavier than the last. "I didn't leave you," Lila said, her voice soothing, yet filled with an undercurrent of urgency. "I was taken. The forest, it chose me. I was meant to protect its secrets, but I couldn't fight it. I need you to understand the truth about what happened that day." My mind raced, piecing together fragments of memories. The day Lila disappeared, the strange events leading up to it, the shadows lurking at the edges of my mind. "What truth?" I demanded, desperation creeping into my voice. "You and I are connected to this forest in ways you can't yet comprehend," Lila explained, her eyes locking onto mine. "The forest feeds on our fears and memories. It uses them to trap lost souls like me. You must confront your own past, Arya, to free me." My heart raced with the weight of her words. "But how? I don't even know where to start." "Think back," Lila urged, her gaze piercing through me. "The memories you've buried, the guilt you've carried, they're the key to unlocking the truth." Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my chest as memories flooded back. Lila and I playing in the forest, laughter echoing through the trees the day we found the stone circle, and the dark figure that had appeared. The memory was hazy, but one detail stood out, a shadow, with glowing eyes watching us. Panic surged through me as I realized that the darkness had always been there, lurking, waiting. "Lila, I remember something." "There was a shadow," I gasped, turning to Tane, who stood frozen in shock. "It was watching us. I thought it was just my imagination." But Tane stepped back, her eyes wide with fear. "No, that can't be. If the shadow saw you, it knows you're here. We have to leave." "Leave?" I echoed, confusion swirling in my mind. "But Lila needs my help. I can't abandon her again." "Arya, you don't understand," Tane exclaimed, her voice rising. "The shadow feeds on your fears. It thrives on your pain. If it sees you confronting your past, it will do everything to prevent you from uncovering the truth." The weight of Tane's words crashed down on me, and I felt the ground beneath me tremble. "But I can't just leave her," I cried, turning back to Lila, desperation clawing at my heart. "Listen to Tane," Lila urged, her voice strained. "You have to protect yourself first. The truth is dangerous, but it's also powerful. You can't confront the shadow without preparing yourself." Just then, the light flickered violently, and the shadows around us deepened. I could feel the presence of the shadow creeping closer, a dark force that wrapped itself around my heart, squeezing tightly. I stumbled back, panic rising in my chest. "What do?" I shouted, fear threatening to overtake me. "Face it," Lila commanded, her voice firm. "You're stronger than it knows. Remember the love we shared, the bond we forged. You can break its hold." With a surge of determination, I closed my eyes, focusing on the memories of our friendship, the laughter, the adventures, the promise we made to always be there for each other. I felt the warmth of those memories pushing back against the encroaching darkness, but it wasn't enough. "Arya," Tane's voice broke through the haze. "You have to confront your guilt. The shadow is feeding off it." "I can't," I cried, tears streaming down my face. "I can't face what happened that day." "Find the truth," Lila echoed, her figure flickering. "You have to remember the last thing we did together." The memories rushed back, and I suddenly recalled the moment we stood at the stone circle, the way the air crackled with energy. "I was so afraid," I shouted, the realization hitting me like a wave. "I was afraid of losing you, of everything changing. I ran away instead of staying and fighting for you." The ground shook violently, and I felt the shadow responding to my fear, growing stronger, more menacing. "You must do it now," Tane shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "You're the only one who can break this cycle." With every ounce of strength I could muster, I opened my eyes and faced the pulsing darkness. "I remember," I screamed, my voice echoing through the clearing. "I remember everything. I let my fear control me, and I lost you because of it." The shadow roared, a deafening sound that reverberated through the clearing. "No, you cannot." "Remember," it hissed, a voice like gravel scraping against stone. "You are mine." But fueled by the memories of love and loss, I pushed back against the darkness, refusing to let it take control. No, you don't own me. You don't own Lila. I will not let fear define me any longer. The ground shook again, and the light from the ancient tree blazed brightly, illuminating the clearing in a warm glow. The shadow shrieked, a sound filled with rage and desperation as it began to recede, the light pushing it back into the depths of the forest. "Arya, do it!" Tane urged, her voice aloof as the shadow writhed and contorted. I felt the weight of its presence clawing at my mind, but I held my ground. "You think you can take me?" I shouted, my voice steady, despite the chaos around me. "You're nothing but a reflection of my fears, and I refuse to be your prisoner." The light from the ancient tree flared again, illuminating the clearing with a brilliance that pushed back the darkness. The shadow shrieked, its form flickering and twisting as if it were trying to escape the grasp of the light. I could feel the energy pulsing through me, a surge of warmth that filled me with newfound determination. "Arya, focus." Tane's voice broke through the cacophony. "You need to harness this power. Remember what you're fighting for." I glanced at her, seeing the fear etched on her face, and it struck me how deeply intertwined our fates were. This wasn't just about Lila anymore. It was about all of us who had suffered, who had been haunted by the shadows of our pasts. I was the thread that connected our stories, and I couldn't let that thread snap. I turned back to Lila, who was still flickering, at the edge of the light. "Help me remember, Lila. What do I need to fight?" Her expression softened, and I could see the pain reflected in her eyes. "You have to confront the truth of that day, Arya. The shadow feeds on the guilt you've carried since then. Let it go. Release it." The memories flooded back again, sharper this time. The thrill of discovery as we explored the forest, the warmth of Lila's laughter, the moment of dread that had shattered everything. I remembered how we had stumbled upon the stone circle, the excitement tinged with an undercurrent of something dark. That darkness had been waiting, lurking, ready to pounce the moment I had let my guard down. "Lila, I was scared." I shouted into the chaos, tears streaming down my cheeks. "I was so scared of losing you that I ran. I should have stayed. I should have fought." The shadow recoiled, its form wavering, but it was still there, still looming. "You think your memories can save you?" it hissed, the gravelly voice slicing through the air. "You are weak, just like you were then." "No," I countered, my voice rising above the din. "I'm not weak. I'm stronger now because I know the truth." With each word, I felt the warmth of the light intensifying, pushing against the cold darkness that surrounded me. I could feel Tane's presence beside me, grounding me, reminding me that I wasn't alone in this fight. "Arya, this is your moment," Tane urged, her voice breaking through the fog of fear. "You have to let go of the guilt. You're not responsible for what happened. You can't carry that burden anymore." Her words struck a chord deep within me. I thought back to the moment when I had fled, how I had chosen fear over courage. "You're right, Tane. I can't keep living in the past." Suddenly the ground shook violently, and the shadow surged forward, its form becoming more defined, more menacing. "You will regret this," it screeched, its glowing eyes narrowing. "No," I shouted back, feeling the energy of the forest surging through me. "I regret nothing. I embrace the truth of what happened that day." The shadow let out a horrible scream, its form beginning to dissolve in the light. "You cannot escape. Me! You are bound to your fears." But I could feel the chains of fear breaking. "I am not bound to anything," I cried. "You will not define me." The light surged brighter, illuminating every corner of the clearing. I felt a fierce determination rising within me, a fire that burned through the remnants of my guilt and fear. I choose to remember the love, the joy, and the bond we shared. I will not let you take that away from me. In that moment, the shadow recoiled as if struck. Its form began to disintegrate, swirling into the air like smoke caught in a gust of wind. The clearing transformed around us, the vibrant colors of the forest coming to life as the darkness began to lift. "Arya, keep going," Lila urged, her voice resonating with strength. "You're breaking its hold. Don't stop now." I focused on the memories that filled me with warmth, the laughter, the adventures, the moments that had shaped us. The fear began to dissolve, replaced by the certainty of our bond. Lila, I won't abandon you again. I will fight for you, for us. With a final surge of energy, I reached out toward the shadow, channeling every ounce of love I felt into that moment. You will not take her from me again. She is my friend, my sister. You have no power here. The shadow let out a final agonized wail, and in an explosion of light and darkness, it dissipated, leaving nothing but a soft glow in its wake. I fell to my knees, breathless, the light fading around me. Tane rushed to my side, her eyes wide with disbelief. You did it, Arya. You faced it. You broke free. Tears streamed down my face, a mixture of relief and exhaustion. But Lila... I turned back to the spot where she had stood, but the light flickered and she began to fade. Arya, you've done what needed to be done, she said, her voice warm and soothing. You've freed me from the shadow's grasp, but now you must continue your journey. No, Lila, please. I reached out, my heart aching as I felt her presence slipping away. I can't lose you again. You won't lose me, she promised, her form shimmering like a mirage. I will always be with you. Just remember the love we shared and know that I am free now. You have the power to change your fate. With that, the light enveloped her, and she vanished, leaving only a lingering warmth in the air. I collapsed. To the ground, the weight of everything crashing down on me. I had faced my fears, broken the chains that had bound me, but at what cost? I looked up at Tane, who knelt beside me, her expression a mixture of pride and concern. Arya, are you okay? She asked softly, her hand resting on my shoulder. I nodded, though my heart felt heavy. I think so, but I can't shake the feeling that this isn't over. There's still so much we don't know. Then we'll find out together, Tane said firmly, helping me to my feet. We've come this far, and we're not backing down now. We have to uncover the truth about the shadow, about what it wants. A chill ran down my spine at the thought, but there was also a flicker of hope. I had faced the darkness and survived. You're right. We have to keep going. I can't allow the past to haunt me any longer. As we stepped back into the shadows of the forest, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The whispers were quieter now, but they still lingered in the air, a reminder of the secrets that lay hidden within the trees. Let's find that stone circle, I said, my voice steady. There has to be more to this than we realized. Tane nodded, her expression resolute, and we'll uncover every layer of this mystery together. I won't let you face it alone. As we ventured deeper into the forest, I could feel the tension hanging thick in the air, but I also felt the warmth of Lila's spirit guiding me. I was ready to confront whatever lay ahead, ready to uncover the truth that had eluded me for so long. The night was far from over, and the forest still held its secrets close. But I was no longer afraid. I had faced the shadows, and I would continue to seek the light. The answers awaited us, and I was determined to find them. The air was thick with tension as Tane and I pushed deeper into the forest, the shadows stretching around us like fingers eager to pull us back into darkness. The whispers returned, a haunting chorus that echoed through the trees, taunting and teasing, reminding me of the fear I had just shattered. But I wasn't the same girl who had fled from the truth. I was stronger now, emboldened by my confrontation with the shadow and Lila's sacrifice. I had a purpose. Do you feel that? Tane whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence. I nodded, a chill running down my spine. The very air felt charged, as if the forest itself was alive and aware of our presence. It's like something is watching us, she continued, her eyes scanning the darkness. Maybe it is, I replied, my heart racing. We're getting closer. I can feel it. The stone circle was our destination, a place that had been a source of both wonder and dread. It was where everything had begun, where Lila's laughter had been silenced by a force greater than our understanding. As we walked, the underbrush crackled beneath our feet, each sound amplified in the stillness. The path twisted and turned, leading us deeper into the heart of the forest. I could sense the weight of unseen eyes upon us, and with every step, the memories of that fateful day crept back into my mind. The thrill of discovery, the thrill that had turned to horror in an instant. "Arya, let's not dwell on the past," Tane urged, sensing my turmoil. "We need to focus on what's ahead, on uncovering the truth." I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the present. "You're right. I can't let the fear control me anymore." Just then, a rustling sound echoed from the thicket nearby, and I froze. My instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, but I stood my ground. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, my heart pounding. Before Tane could respond, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall man with dark hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. He wore a cloak that billowed like smoke, and his presence sent a shiver down my spine. "Who are you?" I demanded, stepping closer to Tane. The man smiled, a cold, unsettling smile that sent my instincts into overdrive. "I am Elias," he said, his voice smooth, yet laced with an edge of danger. "And I've been waiting for you, Arya." "What do you want?" Tane asked, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Elias's gaze lingered on me, and I felt a strange pull, as if he could see right through me. "You've taken an interest in the stone circle, haven't you? It holds the key to everything you seek." I narrowed my eyes at him, feeling the tension in the air thicken. "What do you know about it?" "More than you can imagine," he replied, stepping closer. "But the truth comes at a price. You must be willing to face what lies within." "Face? What?" I shot back, my heart racing. "What do you mean?" He chuckled softly, his laughter echoing around us like a sinister melody. "The shadows you've defeated are only the beginning, dear Arya. There are forces at play here that go beyond your understanding. The stone circle is a nexus of power, and it's not just your fears that linger in the darkness." "What do you mean?" I pressed, feeling a mix of anger and confusion. "What does that have to do with Lila?" "Ah, the girl who was lost," Elias said, his tone shifting to one of mock sympathy. "A tragic tale indeed. But her essence remains, trapped in the very fabric of that place. You must make a choice, one that will determine the fate of many." I exchanged a worried glance with Tane, who looked just as bewildered as I felt. "What kind of choice?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Will you embrace the light and risk losing what you hold dear?" Elias continued, his eyes glinting with something dark and hungry. "Or will you succumb to the shadows, allowing them to consume you and everything you love?" "Stop it," I shouted, stepping forward. "You don't get to play with my emotions. I'm not afraid of you." Elias raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "Ah, but fear is a powerful ally, Arya. The shadows you fought against were merely reflections of your own fear. You have only scratched the surface." The urgency of the moment pressed down on me, and I felt a surge of defiance. "I won't let you manipulate me. I face the shadow, and I will find Lila. I will uncover the truth." Elias's smile faded, replaced by a look of irritation. "You think you can just walk away? The truth is not so easily obtained." Before I could react, he raised his hand and the ground shook violently. I stumbled, and Tane grabbed my arm. "To steady me." "What's happening?" she shouted, fear lacing her voice. "Beware the power you seek, Arya," Elias warned, darkness swirling around him like a tempest. "You may not like what you find." The shadows began to writhe and twist, forming into grotesque shapes that lunged toward us. Panic surged within me, but I forced myself to push through the fear. "Tane, we have to hold our ground." We stood side by side, our backs against each other, facing the oncoming darkness. The shadows morphed into nightmarish versions of our past, twisting memories of loss and regret into monstrous forms. I saw Lila, her face twisted in anguish, her spirit trapped within the depths of those shadows. "No," I screamed, desperation clawing at my throat. "I won't let you take her from me again." With every ounce of strength I had, I drew upon the light within me, the warmth that had surged during my confrontation with the shadow. "I choose love over fear," I declared, feeling the energy of the forest swell around us. The shadows hesitated, recoiling from the light that radiated from Tane and me. You think you can defeat me with mere words? Elias sneered, but his voice faltered as the light grew stronger. Words have power, I shouted back, channeling every bit of love. I felt for Lila, for Tane, for all the moments that mattered. You cannot control me! The light surged forth, illuminating the clearing with a brilliance that shattered the shadows. Elias staggered back, his expression shifting from amusement to fury. You will regret this? No, I said firmly, feeling the chains of fear shatter around me. I will not be bound by your darkness. With a final burst of energy, I thrust my hands forward, releasing the light that coursed through me. The shadows shrieked, writhing as they were consumed by the brilliance, and Elias's form began to dissolve into the air. Arya, Tane called, her voice rising above the chaos. Keep going, we're almost there! The darkness cracked and shattered, revealing the stone circle bathed in brilliant light. I could feel Lila's presence, flickering like a candle in the wind, urging me forward. Lila, I cried, my heart aching with longing. I'm coming for you. As we surged toward the stone circle, the last remnants of Elias's darkness crumbled away, leaving nothing but silence in its wake. The air was still, and the forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what would come next. I stepped into the stone circle, feeling the energy pulsate beneath my feet. The stones were warm, resonating with the power of the love I had chosen. I closed my eyes, focusing on Lila, on the bond we shared, and I knew that I was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The night was still young, and the true confrontation was just beginning. With Tane by my side, I was determined to uncover the secrets hidden within the stone circle and bring Lila home. I took a deep breath, bracing myself for the next chapter of this journey. Together, we would face the shadows of our past and forge a new path into the light. The moment my feet touched the warm stones of the circle, a surge of energy coursed through me, reminiscent of the light I had unleashed against Elias. I felt it wrap around me like a protective cloak, but beneath that warmth lay the remnants of fear and pain, the shadows of my past etched into my very being. Tane stood close, her presence a steady anchor in the swirling chaos of emotions that threatened to overwhelm me. Arya, we did it, she whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. We actually pushed him back. I nodded, but the victory felt hollow. Yes, we had defeated Elias, but the echoes of his words lingered in my mind like a haunting melody. But at what cost? I murmured, scanning the clearing for any sign of Lila. I can still feel her. It's like she's just out of reach. Tane took a step closer, placing her hand on my shoulder. We need to focus on what we can do next. The light is here now. It's our chance to find her. With a deep breath, I closed my eyes and reached out with my mind, hoping to connect with Lila's essence. The energy thrumming through the stones pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat, and I could feel the warmth intensifying, calling me to delve deeper. But as I focused, the shadows from the confrontation clawed at the edges of my consciousness, pulling me back into a whirlwind of doubt. Lila! I shouted again, desperation burning in my throat. I'm here! I won't leave you! The air crackled, and for a moment I thought I caught a glimpse of her, her laughter ringing like a bell, her eyes bright with mischief. But then the vision flickered, replaced by a sense of emptiness that gnawed at my heart. I staggered back, the pain of her absence hitting me like a physical blow. Arya! Tane's voice broke through the fog of my despair. Look! I turned to see the stones beginning to glow with a soft luminescence, an ethereal light spiraling upward like smoke. It coalesced into a shimmering figure, and my breath caught in my throat. Lila? I whispered, hope igniting within me. But as the figure took shape, I realized it wasn't Lila. It was a woman, ethereal and beautiful, her features striking yet unfamiliar. I am Seraphine, she spoke, her voice echoing like the chime of bells. I guard this realm, the nexus of love and loss. What do you want? I asked, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and curiosity. I am here to guide you, she replied, her gaze piercing through the veil of my grief. The battle you fought was merely a manifestation of your own fears, but now you have the chance to break free from them. What do you mean? Tane interjected, stepping forward as if to protect me from whatever this being might represent. Your friend is trapped in a liminal space, suspended between worlds, Seraphine explained, her voice softening. To free her, you must embrace the scars of your past, face the truths you have buried deep within. My heart sank. But I thought we had defeated Elias. Why is she still trapped? Elias was but a guardian of those fears, Seraphine explained, her gaze unwavering. The shadows can only hold what you allow them to. If you wish to bring Lila back, you must confront the darkness within yourselves. Tane's grip tightened on my arm, her eyes wide with realization. We can't just leave her there. We have to do whatever it takes. But the weight of Seraphine's words pressed heavily on my chest. What if I can't? What if I'm not strong enough? Seraphine stepped closer, her light illuminating the clearing. You have already shown strength, Arya. You faced your fears and fought against the darkness. Embrace that power, and you will find the light within. Suddenly, the air shifted again, and I felt the shadows lurking at the edge of the clearing, watching us. Their presence was palpable, a reminder that our victory was not complete. Anxiety gripped me. What if Elias returned? What if this was just a temporary reprieve? Will you help me? I asked Seraphine, desperation lacing my voice. Will you help me bring her back? She nodded slowly. But you must be prepared for the journey ahead. The shadows will not relent easily. They will test your resolve, your bond with each other. Can you face them together? I glanced at Tane, who met my gaze with unwavering determination. We can do this, she said, her voice steady. We're stronger together. As if sensing our resolve, the shadows began to retreat slightly, but I could still feel the tension in the air. What do we do now? I asked, turning back to Seraphine. Step into the circle, she instructed. Focus on your love for Lila and the light that shattered the darkness. Channel that energy into the stones, and it will guide you to her. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, feeling the warmth of the stones beneath my feet. Tane joined me, and together we closed our eyes, surrendering to the energy that pulsed around us. Lila, we're coming for you, I whispered, pouring every ounce of love and hope into the stones, feeling their power surge through me. The light intensified, and the shadows recoiled, howling in fury. I could sense the presence of Lila, faint yet insistent, like a flickering candle in the dark. Hold on, please, I cried out, the pain of separation lacing my words. Suddenly, the ground beneath us shifted, and the stones glowed brighter than ever, illuminating the entire clearing in a dazzling display. I felt the energy coalesce, forming a bridge of light that stretched out before me, leading into the unknown. Together, Tane urged, grabbing my hand. We stepped forward as one crossing into the light. The world around us dissolved, replaced by a kaleidoscope of colors and sensations. I could feel Lila's presence growing stronger, but so too did the shadows swirling around us, seeking to pull us back. Don't let go, I shouted, squeezing Tane's hand tightly. As we pressed onward, I began to see glimpses of Lila, her laughter, her smile, the way her eyes sparkled with life. Each memory was a beacon, guiding me through the chaos. But just as I felt we were close, the shadows surged forward, their cold tendrils lashing out at us. Arya, focus, Tane urged. Remember why we're doing this. I thought of every moment with Lila, every shared secret, every laugh. I thought of the love that bound us, the bond that could not be severed by darkness. I choose love, I shouted, feeling the light within me flare to life. The shadows recoiled, and I felt the bridge beneath us pulse, surging forward with renewed strength. Keep going, Tane cried, and I pushed through the resistance, determined to reach Lila. We neared the end of the bridge. The light enveloped us, and I felt a rush of energy, a wave of warmth that washed over me. Just when I thought we would break through, a shadow lunged forward, wrapping around my leg. No, I screamed, fighting. against its grip. "Let me go," but the shadow held tight, dragging me back. Tane turned, her face a mask of determination. "I won't let you take her!" With a fierce cry, she reached for me, pulling me toward the light. The shadows screamed in fury, but I could feel the warmth of the stones fueling our resolve. Together, we shouted in unison, and with one final surge of energy, we leaped into the light, shattering the darkness around us. The moment we crossed the threshold, the world exploded in brilliance. I felt the weight of the shadows slip away, replaced by a serene calm. I opened my eyes, finding myself in a vast expanse of light. "Lila?" I called, my voice echoing in the ethereal space, but there was no answer. Panic surged within me, and I turned to Tane, who looked just as bewildered. "Where are we?" she asked, glancing around. "I don't know," I admitted, my heart racing. "But we have to find her." "Look," Tane pointed, and I followed her gaze to see a figure standing in the distance, bathed in light. "Layla!" I shouted, my heart leaping in my chest. But as I took a step forward, the figure faded into the light, leaving nothing but a whisper in the breeze. "Arya!" "No!" I cried out, reaching for the fading presence. "Don't go!" The light flickered, and I felt the floor beneath me shift. The energy began to pulse rhythmically, creating a barrier around us. "We have to break through!" I shouted, panic rising within me, but as we pressed forward, the light began to dim, and the shadows whispered at the edges of my mind, taunting me with their spectral presence. "Arya, we can't give up," Tane urged, her eyes fierce with determination. As Tane and I pressed forward through the fading light, desperation clawed at my chest. The figure that had once seemed so close was now nothing more than a wisp of memory, slipping through our fingers. Like sand. "We can't lose her," I shouted, my voice echoing in the vastness. The shadows writhed around us, their whispers growing louder, taunting, mocking our attempts to reach Lila. "Arya, focus," Tane urged again, her grip on my hand tightening. "We can't let the shadows take our hope." But the pulsing light began to dim, and I felt the oppressive weight of darkness creeping back in. "What if we can't find her?" I asked, fear threading into my voice. "What if this was all for nothing?" "Then we make it count," Tane insisted, her resolve shining through the encroaching gloom. "We fight for her, for each other. We can't let the shadows win." With a nod, I drew in a shaky breath, channeling every ounce of love and determination I had. I thought of Lila, the laughter we had shared, the dreams we had woven together. "Together!" I shouted, and we surged forward, the last remnants of light flickering around us. But as we moved, the shadows lunged at us, their chill wrapping around my mind, dragging me down into their depths. Images of despair flooded my thoughts, my fears, my failures, the moments I had let Lila down. "No!" I screamed, fighting against the tide. But the darkness was relentless. "Arya!" Tane cried, her voice strained. "You have to push through. Embrace your light." I felt the shadows tightening their grip, whispering vile thoughts that echoed in my mind. "You'll never save her. You'll only fail again." But amidst the cacophony of doubt, a small flame ignited within me. Lila's laughter resonated through the darkness, a beacon of hope. "I won't give up," I declared, feeling the warmth of her spirit pushing against the shadows. "Choose," the darkness hissed, its voice a chilling wind that sent shivers down my spine. "Choose between her freedom and your own." In that moment, the air around us shimmered, and two paths unfolded before me. One path glowed with an ethereal light, leading to the promise of Lila's return, while the other, dark and twisted, beckoned with the lure of safety. Safety for me, but at a catastrophic cost. I could see it clearly now. In choosing the light, I would risk everything, knowing that the shadows could consume us all. But choosing the darkness would save me, leaving Lila trapped in the void forever. "Arya, what do we do?" Tani's voice trembled with uncertainty. As she looked at me, her eyes wide with fear, my heart raced. Both choices felt equally terrible, each fraught with pain and loss. To abandon Lila would mean living with that guilt for eternity, but to step into the light could mean losing Tane and perhaps myself in the process. Lila, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. What do I do? Choose! The shadows roared, their voices rising in a furious crescendo that threatened to drown out my thoughts. Together! Tane shouted again, her voice slicing through the noise. We can't let them tear us apart. With a surge of determination, I grabbed Tane's hand tighter. I choose love, I shouted, my heart pounding in my chest. I choose to fight for Lila. But as we stepped toward the light, the shadows lashed out, wrapping around us like chains. You will suffer for your choice, they hissed, and in that moment, I felt the truth of it. The choice I made was a double-edged sword. I could save Lila but risk losing Tane forever, or I could save myself and abandon the one I loved. Arya, Tane screamed as the darkness began to pull us apart. Don't let go. But the shadows were relentless, their touch icy and suffocating. You'll never see her again, they taunted. Don't listen to them, I cried, feeling my resolve waver. We'll find a way. As I fought against the shadows, I glimpsed the light again, the shimmering form of Lila flickering tantalizingly. Close. I could almost reach out to her, but the shadows tightened their grip, threatening to tear me from Tane. Choose! They roared again, their voices a deafening chorus. In that moment of clarity, I realized that the choice was not just about Lila or my own safety. It was about the bond we shared. Tane, we have to choose together, I shouted, my voice unwavering. We can't abandon each other. And with that, I made my choice. I would fight for Lila, but I would not sacrifice Tane in the process. Together, I shouted with all my might. In an explosion of light and shadow, we surged forward, breaking the chains that bound us. The world around us shifted, and I felt the warmth of love enveloping us. Lila! I cried out again, and the light intensified, pushing back against the darkness. But as the shadows recoiled, I felt a rift forming between me and Tane. Arya, no! She shouted, but I was already moving, propelled by the light that surged around me. I stepped into the radiance, feeling the shadows clawing at my back. The warmth enveloped me, but I could feel Tane slipping away, her presence dimming in the encroaching darkness. Don't let go. I screamed, but it was too late. The light swallowed me whole, leaving Tane behind in the shadows. In the blinding brilliance, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had chosen love, but at what cost? I was alone in this expanse, and I could only hope that Tane would find her way back to the light. Lila, I called again, and the figure appeared once more, this time closer, her face illuminated with a radiant smile. Arya, she whispered, her voice a soothing balm against the chaos. But as I reached out, the shadows surged back, threatening to engulf us both once more. You've made your choice, they hissed, and now you will pay the price. The brilliance around us flickered, and I felt the weight of darkness bearing down again. I had saved Lila, but at the cost of my bond with Tane. Would I be able to keep her safe when the shadows were still lurking, waiting for their chance to reclaim her? Together, we can face it all, I reminded myself, pushing back against the shadows. Together. But as the light faded and darkness loomed, I realized that my choice had set us on a path fraught with uncertainty, and the consequences of my decision would echo far beyond this moment. As I stood there, torn between hope and despair, I knew that our journey was far from over. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Share with your friends so they can also embark on this mystery-filled adventure. Leave a comment below telling us your favorite part or what kind of ending you'd like to see in a future story.